Released in 1991, Alien Storm is a port of Sega's System 18 coin-op, which hit arcades the previous year. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up that puts players in control of the alien busters, an eclectic group of soldiers who must save the Earth from invading extraterrestrials vying to conquer the planet. You can choose from three playable characters. Garth is a burly bro in a red onesie, armed with a weapon that fires short-range bursts of electricity. Karen, presumably inspired by Ellen Ripley from Alien, wears a banana yellow catsuit and wields a flamethrower. Lastly, Scooter is a robot who's totally naked, with his nuts and bolts just hanging out. He wields an energy whip. Out of the trio of playable characters, I liked Karen the most, as her flamethrower has the furthest range, which helps her keep the bloodthirsty invaders at bay. Scooter, on the other hand, is by far my least favorite character. His energy whip's range is just pitiful, which means you'll have little breathing room when going toe to toe with the murderous space scum. When it comes to combat, Alien Storm feels quite similar to Sega's Golden Axe, only it's a little faster paced. Hitting an enemy leaves them stunned, allowing you to pile on the damage before they can get back on their feet. What's interesting though is that there's no jump button. Instead, tapping C makes your character perform an evasive dive, which you can follow up with a nasty shoulder check. This doesn't do too much, but it's great for crowd control when the action gets too hot and heavy. You can perform a flying leap if you double tap forward and press C. This ability can be paired with a downward attack. Unfortunately, this move feels almost impossible to time correctly with Karen and Garth, so you're better off not using it. In addition to these abilities, each player also has a special move they can use to damage every enemy on screen. You perform these moves by pressing the A button. Garth calls down a heavily armed gunship to rain down death from above. Scooter blows himself up like a suicide bomber, then a fresh new bionic bod swoops in to retrieve the head. And Karen opts for the nuclear option, dropping a warhead right onto the middle of the battlefield. Now, as you can probably imagine, these moves are super effective. But you can't go too nuts with them because they cost energy. Use too much of it, and you'll run out of ammo and have to get up close and personal with these unwelcome interstellar tourists. Alien Storm features three different playstyles. First, there's the beat 'em up component we've been focusing on. Next, first person gallery shooter segments similar to the bonus rounds in Shinobi and Shadow Dancer. Along with those, there's also forced scrolling segments where you run at high speed across the city, blasting aliens to bits. I remember the shooter segments blew my mind as a kid. You can blast every background tile to smithereens, leaving grocery stores, warehouses, and electronic stores in ruins. They're super easy though, and essentially only serve to keep things fresh, while giving you a chance to replenish your stores of health and energy. And let me tell you, Alien Storm can definitely use them. Unfortunately, as much as I love beat 'em ups, they're infamously repetitive, and Alien Storm cranks that dullness dial to 11 in that regard. Most of the game's 8 stages take place in similar looking urban settings with ugly, earthy colors, with little in the way of background details to make them stand out from each other. I remember the game receiving lots of praise for how close it came to delivering the arcade experience at home. However, just looking at this comparison shot here, it's plain to see how much this loss of color and background detail hurt this port. Now, that's not to say it's not impressive. Similar to the Genesis port of Golden Axe, the sprites are very nice looking approximations of what we saw in the arcades the previous year. But without the attractive fantasy setting found in that game, Alien Storm's drab city blocks just fail to excite. Still, compared to its music, Alien Storm's visuals are fine art. The instrumentation ranges from nauseating fart sounds to ear-eviscerating screeches. As for the melodies themselves, they're entirely forgettable. The soundtrack was done by Sega of Japan's Keisuke Sukahara, who also made the music for the arcade version of Shadow Dancer. I'm not crazy about that soundtrack for many of the same reasons. However, if you like that one, then you just might like the oral assault that Alien Storm provides. And no, I have no idea why I bought the album. But don't just take my word for it. Give it a taste here and see what you think. Who knows, it might be up your alley. Sadly, the sound department isn't the only area where Alien Storm stumbles. The game also falls short when it comes to its bosses. In fact, there are only a couple to be found throughout the game's 8 stages, and worse still, you'll battle the same ones multiple times on your mission to liberate the planet from its unwelcome guests. Now, I've always been a firm believer that great music and bosses are essential when crafting a memorable beat 'em up. Unfortunately, Alien Storm misses the mark on both counts by a pretty wide margin. One of the things that made Alien Storm stand out in the arcades was that it supported 3-player cooperative play. And, as you probably guessed, the home conversion strips it down to just 2 players. You can team up with a buddy and save humanity from certain destruction. Or, if you want, there's also a player versus player duel mode that Sega loved to cram into all their Genesis beat 'em ups. But let's face it, that mode's never been any fun, and it's just as lackluster here as you'd expect it to be. Even when compared to other beat 'em ups, the game's super short. Most of the stages consist of just a couple of screens before the game throws you into the next shooting gallery or forced scrolling stage. That said, you'll be able to make it to the finale in about 20 minutes or so. And while there's a hard mode to challenge your skills, it's tough to imagine many players will want to return to the game after their first playthrough. Alien Storm isn't a terrible beat 'em up, but it pales significantly when compared to Sega's other brawlers like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. If you're absolutely dying for another game in this genre for your Genesis, it'll scratch that itch, but you're probably better off getting it on the Sega Genesis Classics collection for the Switch, Xbox One, PS4, or PC. That way, you'll at least get a ton of outstanding games to go with your mediocre brawler. I got my copy of Alien Storm for $5 from Funko Land in the early 90s, and even then, I found myself regretting my purchase a little. With much better beat 'em ups available for Sega's 16-bit powerhouse, this one's easily missed. So, have you played Alien Storm before? If so, what did you think of it? Do you think it's a beat 'em up worth adding to your Genesis library? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. As always, this is Super Neo Mega signing out.